Okay. Well, I think we're live, Dave. So
Hey, good morning. Stand Tall with Dave Brown and producer Rob. Rob, how you doing, dude?
I'm doing great. Sounds like I'm doing a little bit better than you. You with the cold, and we've been kind of congested. That's why we've been a little slow putting podcasts up. But hopefully, you're on the rebound, Coach.
I'm probably 80%. I'll tell you what, this is a kicker right here. This has been a tough one.
So if I was a coach, I would probably keep you on the bench, but have you available late if I needed, right? As a coach,
Yeah, if
at
you need
80%.
I can do that. I just need, about 3 seconds and I'll hit whatever shot you need to hit. That's cool.
All right,
So,
all right. Well, good to see you, man. It's good to see you. I know we've
I
been
got to
able
tell
to
you
connect with
quick
you here.
something. The other day I'm walking Lucy, the Princess of Oxford, and that's our chocolate lab, everybody. And I was sitting there thinking about in the past, back when we were younger and we actually played. And I remember some of the shots, because watching highlights on social media and you see some of these big shots that, Steph Curry and all these people hit, college kids, and they're showing his high school kid game on social media. And this kid just comes down and just nails this shot and the gym goes crazy. And as a coach, I've been part of so many of those scenarios, good and bad, but I remember a few of the shots I hit. It's like, that's why we play sports. There's just that feeling you can't get in any other area of life.
Mhm.
Sports can just
Well,
really bring out magic moments, I guess.
Well, that's a great segue because I was going to hit you with something. So last night, a good friend of ours, young guy, really does well for himself, single, but brought over his new girl. Whoa, uh-oh, there goes the coffee, huh?
There goes coffee. Oh, well, I'm good.
Well, he brought over his new girlfriend, really nice girl. I don't want to give her name right, but she was actually a former high school athlete here in Oregon. Played soccer at a high level and as well as basketball, girls basketball, and was from the great school and great town of Banks.
Been there.
Yeah, I figure if I said Banks, you'd probably bring up some memories. She was
Banks is
telling me
a cool town.
they got
Did I,
one stoplight, but apparently they're about ready to get their second stoplight.
that's the rumor.
That's what she was telling us. She's a hometown girl from down there.
Well, Banks today is metropolitan compared to what it was 20 years ago. You know, Banks is growing quite a bit. They put a lot of new housing out there, some new schools. So, yeah, I went over there 40 years ago, and they have like a racetrack over there for old cars,
Oh,
and
cool.
right next to it, a bunch of softball fields. And we used to go over there and play tournament ball quite often. And there was a little cafe there in the middle of town. It was there forever, and just best breakfast ever type of place. And that's when Banks was tiny. I think it's a Mexican restaurant now, and I've heard they're really, really good. But here's a quick note about Banks, Oregon. If you go out there, you can go to the end of town on the north end. So it's before you get to Highway 26, Sunset Highway. And there's like an old end of a railroad station right there. And they've put trails in there all the way up in the mountains to, I'm trying to think of the town. It's 22 miles away. And you can ride your bike, you can walk it. It's all paved.
Mhm.
And they go over trestles and everything all the way up in there. And I'm going to think of the town in a second.
Yeah.
And you can get all the way up there, 22 miles one way. I've done it twice. And then 22 miles back. So it's 44 miles.
Well, that's great. I mean, it was that. I mean, again, I'm not from here, so to hear her talk about, and she's a wonderful young lady. Does really well. Works in healthcare and just like I said, really has it together. Hopefully it all works out. But the point is she's very proud of that she played soccer. I guess they for their level they were at what the 3 or 4A level, and
I'll take
they
three.
would win.
Three.
They would be championship level when she played. They were in the state championship quite a bit, and have that sort of championship legacy. And talked about kind of everybody in the town would come out to the games, and it just was something that permeated the entire community. I know
Banks
it's
is
something
solid.
we talk a lot about community here on our show.
Yeah, Banks is solid there. That's a good town. they're always tough. I mean, you know how sports in high school kind of
Yeah.
can go up and down, but yeah, they've had some different athletic teams come through there. And if my memory serves me right, especially on the girls' side, they've been tough. At different times, soccer, basketball, even softball, I
Yeah.
believe too. So that's the cool thing about high school sports is, you know, you get a couple of kids coming through and, you know, a class coming through with a few special athletes, and they can take all the average athletes and bump them up a bit, and
Yeah.
and cool stuff happens for sure. I mean, I
Well, this young lady, she was the point guard. I trust me, I quizzed her all about it. She was the point guard, and ended up having a. Well, it was kind of interesting. She had said, I was, very active, but I, tore my ACL 2 times, and I immediately said, "Oh, you're a soccer player."
oh
And
yeah,
she said, "Oh yeah, how'd you guess?" I was like, "Trust me. I mean, that's the number one injury for I don't know number one, but it's a very common injury for soccer players." And so we had a really good discussion. Anyway, very nice young lady. But the town of Banks, a little shout out to the town of Banks. I just wanted to give that.
like Banks. Yep, good
What do
little
you got
town.
for me this week, Dave? What do we got going? Lot of
Well,
stuff,
I think
man.
the stuff that's really been popping, you know, is um, you know, the other night we had a meeting with the executive committee of the UML County Republican Party. I'm the chair, and you know, I like to open stuff with team building questions, and I wasn't prepared for the answers I was going to get, Rob. But the question I asked everybody, there's 13 of us on the executive committee, and I said, you know, we just had an election. You know, this is a week ago, so I think we're day 18 of the President Trump era. And I said, you know, we're probably in the most consequential elections of our lifetimes. And what, how's this impacted you since inauguration day? In your own words, 60 seconds or less, what's that mean to you? Man, the answers I got back were phenomenal. We're probably talking the average
Positive,
age.
uplift, very
Oh man,
positive, uplifting.
well, yeah, but not real Trumpy, not real Republican-y, not real we won type of thing. It wasn't that at all. It was just more an honest to goodness hope that America has a shot at getting back to being an America that we would have recognized when we were younger people, and you know, more back to the Constitution and the good times, whether Republican or Democrat, the good times of America, where we weren't fighting and we weren't, you know, people were here more for the country than and I know there's a lot of stuff going on right now. I know a lot of people are struggling with what's going on, but you know, one of the big things, you know, that's happened since President Trump took over at lightning quick speed, they're making transitions and getting stuff done and going. And I think when I look at what I said I teared up for the first time in a long time when I saw his hand on the Bible and he was being sworn in, because everything I've been through, my wife Judy, our, you know, most of our team, you a little bit, you know, what we've been through just in our little area of Newberg, Oregon, has been brutal. You know, the political climate and the cancel culture and the vaccines and everything my wife went through at school, being, you know, just practically tortured. Uh, man, it was just this, like, we got a shot at getting some normalcy back. Now I know other people look at President Trump and they don't see normal. They see somebody that, you know, they don't like. But one thing is going to happen is, I think that is as far slow as Joe Biden went to undo things in his way. President Trump's going his way, and things are happening, you know, at a rapid pace to go the way he wants to go. And I think the one that excites me the most, and it makes me the maddest, is Live Aid and
USA, yeah.
USAID, and talking about, you know, just taxpayer dollars. I didn't even know USAID existed until all this started, and then you know, I don't believe in the fact that we shouldn't have government agencies at all. I think, you know, government's an important part of our society. We've just let it get too big. But if any of this stuff coming out is legit, and it looks like a lot of it is, uh, there's been a tremendous abuse of power. Now, this didn't start with the Joe Biden presidency. We want to be fair and square here on Stand Tall, and but it's run rampant for a long time. This is a problem that goes back decades. So,
Well, Dave, I
naming
mean, I heard a story about condoms to the Taliban. Like, what the
yes,
heck was that? Like,
$15 million, 15
yeah.
million. And when you look at what could have been done for the people in North Carolina with $15 million, that's just North Carolina. I mean, we can go to every city and every state, and you can talk about schools, you can talk about roads, you can talk about healthcare. Well, it doesn't even matter. I mean, $15 million, but we're into billions of dollars now that they're finding that's going to stuff like that. And it's crazy how many grifters have come on to play, and so I'm worried about what the consequences are going to be of finding this out, because I know in Newberg, Oregon, as we came in on the school board and had to we said no to any type of flags and banners in our schools, and we were just talking about Black Lives Matter and the Pride flag, but the reason we
You guys
said,
were eviscerated by it. I
oh
mean, people lost their jobs, people's family lives were ruined. It wasn't just you, Dave. We're talking about a whole group of people.
yeah, and
You want to bring us real quick? Who there was, without giving the names out. Like, tell us a little bit more about that. It affected more than just you.
oh my gosh, yeah. There and now it's gone statewide, and there's people everywhere. I'm down here at the beach. We're having a getaway this weekend, and people come after Trevor's job, and what's nuts about it though is this has happened across the country where we've had so much distrust going on. But in Newberg, all we said was no. You only can have the American flag and the state flag. For over 100 years in public education, that's how it had been. But the superintendent at the time allowed staff to bring those flags into our classroom, which created a political environment. They said it wasn't political. Of course it was. And it's one of the worst things we've ever done, because it took all the focus off education, put all the focus on Black Lives Matter and the pride flag. And all our vote was to say no flags except the American flag. The teachers union came in and flipped that narrative and said, no, you guys, hate black people and you hate, gay people. Wasn't you can go back and look at the records. I mean, I challenge anybody to go back and look at the board minutes, because it's right there. And as more and more comes out, we'll get our truth told at some point. The media hasn't been our best friend, and that's why a lot of people watch podcasts now. Honestly, Rob, because they don't trust the media. Judy showed me an interview. I got to show you this, by the way. We're got to get this all over our website. It was an interview about a year and a half ago with KGW in Portland, Channel 8, NBC affiliate. Mm-hmm. And I was interviewed behind Burgerville there in Newberg by the Chevy dealership. It was a misty day, and it was a 45-minute interview. And I turned to my wife afterwards, and she brought this back up. I hadn't ever seen it. And I said, dang, you married a pretty good looking guy, babe. And, we laughed, and it was late at night. And then I said, that was a pretty good interview. The lady interviewing me was very, very good. What they put on KGW was about 20 seconds of clipped out stuff that kind of made me look kind of foolish, which was really frustrating, because the entire interview was actually pretty good. And, I remember it was almost 2 years ago. I remember just articulating our stance, and we were right. What we said happened, and we did things the correct way. But when you're being vilified and attacked, and there's only a one-way narrative in the media, we took a hard hit. And they came after our jobs, and Brian was fired, and Renee was fired, and Trevor and Judy and I were, nearly fired, but it changed our employment, to the point where people in public education, they change the way they look at you, talk to you, everything else. And so, but I wouldn't change it for a minute, because we stood up for the right thing. And to this day, I looked at that interview and I told the lady, I said, why don't you come over at Thanksgiving and sit down at my dinner table and Judy's dinner table? And I said, but you will probably be sitting next to a gay man who's our friend, who comes to our house from Europe, and he is our friend, and he's actually, uh, technically family, and but he's gay, and he wasn't gay most of his life, became gay. He comes to our house and he has Thanksgiving dinner, and that's just the way it is. And he's always invited back to our house. He spent the night at our house. Um, when it comes to, I'll challenge a debate with any listener out there anywhere about, racism, because, the last thing in the world I'm going to ever do is choose to look at anybody based on the color of their skin or how old they are, or anything like that. That is just not who we are. But that's why the distress in the media is so huge. And fortunately for us, I guess we have podcasts to turn to. We're growing our podcast because people are looking for honest, answers out there. And
Yeah.
none of us are perfect. But back to the EC meeting, it was fascinating to hear the response of these people, getting a little bit emotional, almost like when you're going back to World War II. Or 9/11, some of the biggest things that have happened in our country, about how this particular time is so consequential for all of us, that we can get America back, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat in the White House, to get America back to a point. And will we ever get there? No. God tells us, he's in charge. He's got a perfect plan. Humans are sinful people, and we're going to make mistakes. And there's wars and fighting and people not getting along for as long as mankind's been around. That will continue. But America, we're almost to our 250 years, Rob, this summer as a country.
Wow. Yeah.
You know,
Dave, and you know what? It's just been it there's so many things that we need to kind of question. Okay, we talked about USA first of all. We talked about just the media, the role of the media, and how they kind of pushed these agendas and went along with this whole movement. And you kind of wonder, well, is the media in the bed with the NEA? And, like, how does that all work? And how did that start? Because there are people in this deep state who are operatives, who they operate under the surface, and they share information, they leak information, they work with the media, they get stories planted, and that's what they do. They're effective at what they do. They get the narratives written about their clients. So, but the average American, which, like I said, Dave, I don't consider you a media star. You weren't really. This is your first real step into the media, so you're not really trained in any of this. But you're just a real person. You're authentic, and people can relate to you. So that's what I go back to is like I think the American public is like, hey, wait a minute, we've been kind of lied to and really sold up the river by presidential administrations. Now I'm working on a story with someone that you and I both know, who was involved in an international incident in 2000, involved in a different part of the world, and he was a hero. And really interesting to hear his story, but we need to start leaning towards people like that, and you know, just the questions that come out of that whole situation that he was in, where he had to basically fight for his life,
yeah,
in a difficult situation, was created or was not aided at all by uh, Hillary Clinton
yeah.
and the Clinton administration, like directly that person. So to me, it's really you guys just wonder, boy, we've been under this blanket of Democrat and Clintonism and all this. People are just tired of it, Dave. They don't want it anymore because it's
No,
all fake and it's all phony. It's Jeffrey Epstein, it's Diddy, it's all these you know Oprah Winfrey. It's this whole network of liberals who have taken over America, and I think America, to their credit, stood up and said no. We got to the point where we're like, okay, we could take so much. We start getting into trying to normalize transgenderism and changing your sex of yourselves and saying it's okay, and the sports issue with that. Then America stood up and said, you pushed us too far. We're not going that far. What do you think, Dave?
no. I think
A lot there to unpack, but what do you think?
no. That's a big question. I think, yeah. I mean, push too far, absolutely. And the other part of that is when you have A country like ourselves, it's like I'm asking every person out there. We say this every show, Rob. Being American, it's time for all of us to stand up. We cannot sit back and allow President Trump to like be the conquering hero. I don't care if he gets all the credit. I care that we're all there to back him up and help him, because really we're not helping President Trump. We're helping the United States of America, and I think that's what he would say too. Yeah, is he a billionaire and is he got an ego and sure, but kind of when we all look in the mirror, we all got a little bit of an ego. We like to do things and have somebody pat us on the back for job well done. But I mean, every single American uh, right now needs to step up and do what President Trump's done.
Mhm.
He just is on the camera all the time. He's famous. It's like Hollywood stars, and we,
Sure.
we we elevate them to a spot higher than they should be because they're on camera all the time. They're on commercials all the time. We see them in the movie theaters. They're very very well known, and we're just average people. But we all need to do our job. We all need to step up, and I think that's where we've fallen down. I told 6 years ago, I've told the story, I'll just real briefly at the Billy Graham Crusades. What started it all for me was Franklin Graham speaking in front of 11,000 people at the Canby, Clackamas County Fairgrounds. And it was here in Oregon, and 6 years ago. And when he came out and said, what do you do 3 times? And he let it, settle over 11,000 people. And I looked at him and I couldn't figure out, Rob, what he meant. But what he meant was exactly what President Trump is doing on a national scale. What we have to do on a small scale is he asked everybody in that crowd, 45, 50 years ago, 6 years ago, so 50, 55 years ago, conservatives and evangelicals and people who wanted this country to be the United States walked away from local politics. you know
Mhm.
the the city council, the county commissioners, the school boards, the park and rec boards, the water boards, and water boards mean that we have water places all over, and we all people walked away from that. And what ended up happening is what's happened, for the last almost 115 years, or about 110 years or so, where the socialistic communism idea from the Bolshevik Revolution that the Russia put out has slowly infiltrated around the world and a lot in the United States, education and everywhere else, and we have allowed that to permeate, and it came through society. A lot of people bought into it. In the 50s, we had the United States Communist Party. It was a big party. I mean, there's a lot of people in Hollywood were part of that. It was a big deal. And, we have to stop being naive in America. We have to stop thinking that this stuff didn't happen. We like to kind of just wave the flag and, flex and show our belt buckle, whatever we're going to do. But that's not enough. We've got to be an American all the time. And, taking care of our country is hard work, and a lot of people haven't worked hard at it. And I really
Mhm.
believe, Rob, that's your job, my job, and especially as men or leaders
Mhm.
in your family, we
Sure.
have not led our kids and our families well enough in that area. And so I'm going to put a lot of this on men. I think, especially in today's society, we try to eliminate men. We don't want men to be strong leaders. And I think now a lot of women have had to pick up that torch and run with it, and I commend all of
Sure.
them
Mhm.
for doing that. Riley
Yeah.
Gaines and this whole fight against
Yeah.
the men's and women's sports. Riley Gaines, I've met Riley. She's a friend of ours. I texted her yesterday. She is all of 5'5", 6. I mean 5'5". She's very short. She's incredibly small. She's an athlete, and here she is, one of the toughest women in America. And
Mhm.
she has fought for this, tooth and nail, been threatened, been, had
Yeah.
people come after her.
Our
So
our friend Dallas Malloy, the boxer Dallas Malloy, we talk about her, and
absolutely,
yeah. So we
absolutely.
need to check in with her. She's great. I know she's got a book out, and we want to kind of help her sell some books, Dallas, and we certainly support Riley Gaines. But Dave, I want to segue into something else that to me it's been really fascinating. How there's been so much movement with the government and Trump that the only kind of defense that the left has been able to come up with is to attack Elon Musk. So what do you think about that? Do you think he's got too much power? Do you think he's taking over too many things? What's your take on this whole thing about Elon Musk?
Well, I would say a couple things. I think President Trump's probably kind of liking it that somebody else is taking some shots. But the thing about Elon Musk and Trump both is, they have that personality, and I've kind of had to have a little bit of that in Newberg. You just at some point you have to be tough enough to take all those hits and just go, okay, but I'm still going to do the right thing. Some people can do that, and some people can't. And we see it in Hollywood. You have these character actors who play these roles. John Wayne or whoever who are super tough. But boy, Elon Musk is he's just got this personality to be able to come into a situation, read it, do something about it, and he knows it's the right thing to do. He does it, and he has the ability to block out the noise. And I commend him because I would love to talk to him. I think he's kind of a strange guy, a little bit, but I just see what I see on camera. But man, he is smart. They've got people in there digging through all the treasury records and everything right now as we speak, and they shut down the Department of Education at least for a day. I don't know how that's going to go. That's
Well,
massive.
what do you feel about that? I know I'm getting off topic here, but what do
No,
you think about this whole issue of the shutting down the Department of Education? Because you were close to it, involved with the school board as a president of the school board. What's your take on all that, and can it realistically happen?
yes, it could happen. I think it needs to be stripped down to the studs and rebuilt. I think there's a place for it, but boy, they've lost their way, and the teachers' unions have had a heavy influence on that, and it hasn't been good. Um, I think that it needs to be scaled way, 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 way back. This is again where government can get too big, and government can make bad decisions, and government can dominate something to the point where it's unhealthy. I think, Rob, when we look at like how our vision of America would be, what's healthy, for everybody, and I think the attitude that if you want to be a true American is like it's not what's exactly healthy for me and me, it's what's healthy for our country, and we don't always get our way. It's like we talk about on our team with Stan Tall. I want everybody to understand there's Paige, producer Rob, myself, Judy, producer Rose, and we all have an equal vote. Even though my name's on the cover, when we go to make a decision on to buy a camera or to buy headphones, um, we're going to make that decision together. Yeah, I don't have those right now. I wish I did. My ears would be warmer. I'm outside. It's a beautiful morning at Lincoln City,
Well,
Oregon.
yeah,
We're
Lincoln City, beautiful place. Tell
oh,
us about Lincoln City.
everybody in the world should come to Lincoln City or the Oregon coast. It's gorgeous down here, and we're with great friends. And we had a big seafood dinner last night, and we had fried shrimp, fried sea bass, and big salad, and it was awesome. But yeah, I think, Rob, that as a country, we're in a spot where we have to sit back and just say it's not all about me. Here's one I'll segue with you. You ready? The other night, got fortunate. I'd never really saw this except on highlights. Was the NFL before the Super Bowl? They had their end of the season awards. Man,
Mhm.
they do it well. Commissioner Goodell was there, and everybody that's anybody in the NFL is there, and it's a kind of an auditorium type feel. And the
Mhm.
last one they handed out was the Walter Payton Award, which went to
Mhm.
Eric Armstead. He's a defensive lineman for the Carolina
Jackson,
Jacksonville
Jacksonville
Jaguars.
Jaguars. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
I
that
think he
story.
was with the Niners, and he's also an Oregon Duck, by the way.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and he was the
Got
Walter
ducks.
Payton Man of the Year. Well, we all
Yeah.
know. Well, most people know if you know the NFL, you would know Walter Payton is one of the great players of all time. But the fact that they named it the Walter Payton Man of the Year award means big time, big deal.
Yeah, it means a
Uh,
lot of community involvement, a lot of being
oh
involved with the community and programming and
yes,
things like that. Yeah.
his whole family's there. It's almost bigger than the MVP award, most valuable player. The other one was the player. They have another award, and it went to Kittle, George Kittle.
George
Uh,
Kittle. Yeah.
the San Francisco
49ers. Yeah,
49ers
right.
tight end, and he got the award for. It's another big time award for the person who goes out and volunteers the most, around
Mhm.
the country, and both those guys, big men, 6'5", 280-pound big men, and they're just gentle giants because they're out there doing fabulous volunteer work. And so they're both their messages, and it's what we've said many times on Stand Tall. It's my message to
Mhm.
everybody is right now, Rob, if we took our country, you, me, start right now on this show right now, we
Mhm.
need to go serve somebody today. And
Mhm.
serving somebody doesn't mean you have to go to another country and be a missionary. It just means, go serve somebody. It can be your wife, it can be your kids, it could
Mhm.
be you today, taking Amanda and just saying, hey, we're going to go for a walk around the block, and something you haven't done for a while, hold hands. Maybe go down and go into
Might go do that Outback. I
there
still
you
got
go.
to do. I
There you
still got to
go.
do that Outback, my
I'll,
baby.
I'll love it. We just went there the other night. It was awesome.
Mhm.
But serving people can come in any type of shape or form. Just go serve somebody, and then it's really hard to think about yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
It
It's a
just
good
is.
feel. You feel better about yourself, and you made someone happy. And yeah. And
I'll
hey,
tell you what.
Dave, here's
If we're
another
talking
one.
about
Good.
depression, if you're talking about anxiety, if you're talking about being lonely, if you're talking about really worried about an interview you're going to have next week,
Mhm.
uh, somebody you're going to ask out on a date next week, talking to your boss about a raise next week, go serve people. It'll take the mind off yourself. And if
Mhm.
our whole country needs to do this, we
Yeah,
honestly do. Right now,
yeah.
today, go serve. We're gonna preach this message, but that's what Eric Armstead and George Kittle were preaching the other night at the NFL awards, and I couldn't agree more. And they got massive standing ovations from everybody in the NFL. And a big shout out, by the way, to my favorite player in the NFL, Josh Allen, who got the
Mhm.
most valuable player award that night in a super close race over Lamar Jackson.
Lamar
And Lamar could
Jackson.
have
Yeah.
won it just as easily, and nobody would have batted an eye. But Josh Allen won it. He was super gracious. His parents were crying. Um, he's a class act.
Yeah, I tell you, if you don't know Josh Allen's story, if you just don't even really follow football, check it out. You go on YouTube, check out a couple of videos. He really has a really interesting story. I mean, the guy apparently he's an awesome baseball player too. I don't know if you knew that. In high school, he was like
No, I
an
didn't.
all state baseball player, and I forgot where he was from, but it was like Midwest somewhere. I don't really know, but really interesting story. Guy's dedicated. Guy's dealt with some adversity and was passed over by every program in the country except Wyoming, and
Yeah,
Wyoming took a chance on him, and he made the most of it. So
I think he even played JC for a couple of years
yeah, I think he
before
did. Yeah, he did play JC
Wyoming
for 2
picked
years,
him up.
then
So
moved
this
on.
is not a superstar coming out of high school that just got everything handed to him at all. He's fun to watch play. But I mean, I love Lamar Jackson.
I
This
love
year,
Baker. I mean, the
oh,
quarterbacks have really stepped up this year. Baker, Mahomes, Jalen
Joe,
Hurts today.
Joe Burrow.
So yeah, great.
I think Jared Goff from the Lions. The one guy I really like, I would love to meet him. I think one of the coolest guys in the NFL is Matt Stafford of the Rams.
Mm,
He played Lions for a long time. He seems like a really cool dude. I agree. I don't know. We have a ton of great quarterbacks, going on,
yeah,
So, but I think getting back to the service thing, go serve somebody. You'll feel better about yourself.
sure, sure. And there's plenty of opportunities. If you don't know where to go, just call up your local church. They'll find you a place.
Yeah.
There's always something to do. A local church, local community center, go down to the city. Well, maybe not the city hall, but maybe go down to the parks department. Ask them. They need some volunteers, and I'm sure there's always time at the park to clean up or something.
Yeah. A couple, during COVID, my neighbor Brad and I went around. We bought the Harbor Freight, the little 69.95 little chainsaws that are tree limbers, and we
Mhm.
just went around and people were paying $1,000 to have like two or three trees limbed up, cleaned up. And so we started going around just helping people, mostly older people in our area. We were having a blast. And
Mhm.
Brad had a trailer, and we hauled it over to a friend of mine's house in Yamhill and put on the burn pile. So we didn't charge him anything. And
Mhm.
it's a kick in the pants when you're having a beer with a couple of 75-year-old people on their front driveway on a hot day, and that's all we charged them, and to see a 75-year-old lady having a beer with you, that's pretty cool. And we didn't charge them a dime, and they would have to pay like $1,000. It's crazy, and it was just fun to serve, and everybody was happy, and it was just a little bit of sweat and elbow grease, and we get her done, and man, cleaning somebody's house or taking them out for lunch, people that don't have much, going down to a care home. A quick reminder, Rob, people that are older, they may be old, their bodies are breaking down. They are definitely, they're frustrated with that too. But at one point, they were younger. And these people were airline pilots, and they were business owners, and they were, truck drivers. But boy, I tell you what, they have a lot of stories.
Mhm.
They have a lot of fascinating stories. You can't undersell what some of these people, did African safaris and were in, foreign places. Like you've traveled a lot over the world,
Yeah.
and unless people ask you that question, they wouldn't know. By the way, hey, we got to transition into this. A shout out to this pizza place in St. Louis you were telling me about.
Oh, Sarah's Pizza is the best, and yeah, just I don't know what else to say. And someday you and I we're going to get back to St. Louis. We're going to do our show from St. Louis, maybe from Sarah's Pizza if they'll have us. But I'll tell you what, it's the type of place. I showed you the picture of it. That's what it is. It's just a little hole in the wall sort of place, right by Pattonville High School. Great history, great sports tradition at Pattonville High School there in St. Louis. And I'll tell you what, though, this pizza is just divine. I go on about pizza quite a bit, but it's my favorite in the world. So we're gonna get back there. But shout out to Sarah's Pizza over there, man.
We're going there someday.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe we'll make this into a national contest as we have some things coming up where if we get fortunate enough and blessed enough to go national, we may have to have this national pizza conversation. Get Pizza Hut, and we'll throw everybody in there. And Sarah's will start off at number one and see if they can hold on to the ranking.
I'll tell you, Domino's is up their game. They change their sauces up a little bit. Now my wife doesn't like the Domino's sauce, but me and the boys we love it. We eat the Domino's quite a bit.
Yeah,
And
I
they
put olive
practically
oil.
give that stuff away too. I mean, it's like we got a bunch of food the other day for $20. Crazy.
If you're feeding kids Domino's money, and
Yeah.
our local Domino's is run by some really great people, and
Oh, good.
yeah, Newberg's Domino's are super,
But
super.
we've given them plenty of money over the couple of years we've been here, man. That's for sure.
I have been a Domino's pizza delivery person in my past life. I've done a lot of stuff. When we had 3 kids, you have, 2, 3 jobs at a time. Just try to,
Sure.
put food on the table.
You,
Been there
you
and
did
stuff.
you refereed a lot, didn't you? Umpired and refereed a lot, I bet, didn't you?
Okay, shout out to myself. I'm gonna tell you, I think I could have went pro or at least D1 in baseball. I could really umpire baseball. I don't
Oh,
know
as
why.
an umpire, okay, all
I
right,
was good. Basketball, I'm pretty good. I mean, I think I'm above average in basketball refereeing, but I coached most of the time, right?
yeah.
But I did a lot of up to 8th grade or spring league high school basketball refereeing, and I think I'm pretty good. But boy, football, I'm terrible. Oh
Ah,
my goodness, football. All I want to do is watch the ball. I'm a quarterback by thinking, so
mhm.
I'm thinking, I'm watching strategies and plays, and I have no idea that there was a penalty happening. I wouldn't know a lineman downfield to save my life. I was terrible at football. Yeah, so I
Mm.
commend all football referees because it's like putting back together a jigsaw puzzle like 470 times in one 2 hour stretch of time. And boy, I commend them. They are,
Oh,
trust me, football refereeing is extremely difficult,
mm.
and they get it right most of the time.
I'll tell you what's also pretty stressful is just that umpiring at the for the little kid for the not the little kids but the middle school kids because those parents are really competitive, man. You
Oh,
get a call wrong at the plate, call someone out, you're hearing dad barking in your ear, and you're 14 years old.
Dude, I'm reffing a middle school football game in Newburgh probably 20 years ago. Not even kidding. This really happened. And this dad and his wife, both really good looking, nice people, but business owners in town. Their kids on the team, obviously, it's all the teams are coached by parents, which I'm not a big fan of, by the way, just letting you know. I think there's a time and place for parents, and I think coaching is some do a great job, many don't, and some do a horrible job. This particular dad this night decided that he was going to come out into the huddle, timeout, you know, and he grabs his son by the face mask and he's shaking him. And this dad's taller than I am. He's 6'3", 6'2", and pretty big guy, And I'd seen his attitude a little bit, already, but this time way over the top. And I looked at that, and other people were seeing it too. And I mean, his kid was a good player. And I immediately blew my whistle. And one thing about an official, if you officiate, you want to blow your whistle loud. You got to sell the call, right? So I always would buy the cheaper whistles, which would make my bosses mad in the association because they'd have these really fancy whistles. And I'd buy the cheap ones that would just blow the ears off a dog. And I call both coaches in. And you always call both coaches in because one coach is not doing anything wrong. But if you only call the coach that's doing something bad, then all the attention goes on him, and then they get more fired up. So I call both coaches in. And I look at this guy, just the three of us at the 50-yard line and the other referee. And I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "That is the worst thing I've ever seen in all my years of athletics." And I've coached varsity ball for years in basketball and tennis, and I've coached football at the lower level up through like 8th grade head coach. And I go, "If you ever do that again, I'll make sure you never coach again anywhere in this town." And I said, "I've always thought you were a pretty good guy. So this is your one warning that you are so wrong that you need to go apologize to your son right now. And after this game, go take him out for a milkshake and tell him that you'll do better, that is not the way you coach." And he was cussing at him too. This was a bad scene. Embarrassed the heck out of his kid. This kid later had big time problems in high school. Big time. Sad. Could have been an all at least all conference player, but ended up going into a lot of chemical stuff.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate. And I just couldn't believe this dad would do this. So as a referee, I told him, I said, one peep. I don't even care if you say, hell or damn or something like that. You're gone. And I'll get to the commissioners and you'll be done. And so that's why it's really dangerous as a parent. Tip to all parents out there: if you coach, Rob, if you ever coach your kids in Little League or whatever, the worst thing that kids hate, I do exit interviews with thousands of kids that I've coached. The number one thing, boys or girls, after a game, they don't want to talk about the game that much, especially if they don't play well. They don't need mom or dad to sit there in the car and tell them everything that they could have done better. You could have moved your feet. You could have, got more arc on the ball. You could have done this. You could have
Should
done.
have got open.
Kids,
Yeah. Should have took the shot, sort of thing. Yeah.
kids hate it. I mean, absolutely hate it. And they'd rather walk home than drive in that car with a parent that does that. So as parents on Stand Tall, one of the things I want to do in our sports segments, Rob, moving forward, is to start doing some podcast on what I've learned that works and what doesn't work, because there's no perfect coach out there at all, and it's a tough business. But I tell you what, there are things you do, and there's things you don't do, and that's the number one thing that kids hate right there.
Well, I mean, I had some experience, covering sports and being involved in sports media. And yeah, I've heard that story over and over about just kids who started off very talented, could have really developed, but the parents put so much pressure on them to develop faster than they could develop, and they ended up going the other way. They get involved in drugs or crime, or decide they don't want to do this, and yeah, their lives change.
Well, I think for most parents, make them focus, number one, on their academics. That should be more important in sports. And you know how big a sports person I am. I mean, I got 44 years of being a coach at the high school level. I think sports are tremendously one of the most important teaching tools we can have out there. But have them focus on their academics, and just remember that if you start when they're 1 year old and you just start putting a little bit of money away, a little bit, $5 a month, whatever, and as they get older and you make more money, keep adding to that so-called college scholarship fund. And by the time they're 18, you'll have a lot of money in that account. And the temptation of thinking I want my little kid to be an athlete, to get a scholarship. Scholarships are tremendously narrow. It's a very small window of kids get an actual scholarship, even at the D1 level in sports other than football and basketball, uh, like even baseball. Oregon State's been amazing for a long time. And there's 35 guys on a roster, 30 guys on a roster. Well, one or two might have a full ride. But for the most part, they only have say 9 scholarships for 30 guys, full scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
And so they split that up. Like you might get 25%, I might get 50%, but that would be high. A lot of guys just get books and some help, maybe a couple $1,000s a term, but they don't get full rides. And so, football, basketball get that. So another one to be really careful about, because kids can always fall back to their academics. Because look at George Fox, where, University of Newberg, Oregon, where we're from. You have football, basketball, baseball. We have good teams. I mean, I've been to all kinds of their athletic events. Just maybe a couple of kids have ever gone pro, and I've lived around George Fox for, almost my entire life. And, thousands and thousands and thousands of athletes. And it's a great D3 school, but, you just don't go pro out of that level very much. So, but those kids do go pro and being a podcaster or, working for Elon Musk at Tesla or whatever, so, yeah. I do know.
Go ahead.
No, I just real quick. I do know a guy, Scott Barnett, came out of George Fox University. Tremendous tennis player at George Fox. Graduated, and he works for the Secret Service back in Washington, D.C. now, and he's having a successful career. Never would have saw that coming. Good-looking guy. I played him in tennis about 10 years ago, maybe. Rob, I had to play out of my head, at my age at that time, and I hung with him. I didn't beat him, but it was the funnest tennis I've ever played. Scott Barnett, tremendous guy, attitude through the roof, strong Christian guy. But shout out to Scott Barnett. He's a Secret Service and serving our country.
Well, I was just going to say at some point I want to we'll do an entire show on this business with the NLI and the signing bonuses for the college kids and kind of what that's done to sports. I mean, well, that's such a big subject. We don't have enough time left in the show to do that, but we'll have to talk about that because that's definitely changed the face of college sports quite a bit.
It has, and I want to know more about it too. This is one would be fun as we grow a little bit, get bigger, Rob. It'd be kind of fun to get that chat going on with a lot of people and the listeners, letting us know how they're feeling about that and what they know. I have certain friends that, our boy Steve, he knows a lot about golf and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
he's great. Shout out to Steve, our buddy Steve. Shout out to him.
Yeah, Steve, you're awesome. He also is a huge Beaver fan, by the way, big time. Me too, but he's bigger. I mean, he's totally into it. Beavers by the other night they played Washington State University on TV and beat them by 7. They've won 10 in a row at home. They're 17-7. And so I got to shout to the Beavs men's basketball team. They're having a really good year post, Pac-12. They're having a good year.
Yeah. Wow.
So.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, it's just been an action-packed couple weeks. I know one thing that you and I had talked about, we want to just ask people to like and subscribe and send us a review. It just helps our show, helps get us up in our algorithms. Before too long, to be able to sign up for episode reminders. So every time we drop an episode, you'll get an email. We'll be sending out a newsletter as well. And then, Dave, we talked about the website. I've seen some of the prototypes. I think you've seen a couple of those prototypes. It's going to be slick. It's going to be real nice, real interactive, and can't be more excited about the help we're getting behind the scenes on that, and someday we'll be able to talk about that. But again, new website coming, the ability to subscribe to the podcast, and then a lot of promotion on social media. So we're getting that all worked out, and look for that to roll out. But before we move on, I got to ask you about this because this is the week that puts so much fear in the hearts of every single man who's looking for a girlfriend. It's Valentine's week, Dave. Man, I'll tell you what, people, that is a tough one. How do you do with Valentine's? I know you're an old lover. You're a romantic, man. I know you and Judy, you do it upright. I'm sure you do. But boy, I'll tell you what, that's a difficult holiday for a lot of dudes, man.
I got to tell you, that's a funny question because I got a lot of game when it comes to the romantic thing. But I got to tell you, I'm texting my wife right now in the house. I'm saying, bring me new coffee.
Huh,
Um,
that's love.
uh,
And if she shows up with coffee, she loves you.
oh man, I know this will be my Valentine's right here. I think that, you know, as a guy, you just have to sit back and say, what works is romance. Okay, so here's your hot tip. You ready?
Yeah, do it.
Audrey Hepburn was one of the most beautiful women to ever grace the screen in Hollywood. Aubrey Hepburn, not Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah,
Aubrey Hepburn.
Audrey.
Audrey Hepburn, and she is in. She sings Green River in the movie. Oh my gosh, it's slipping my tongue. I just played it last night. It's one of the most beautiful romantic songs you'll ever sing. And she's in the movie with George Peppard. And he was a good looking guy,
Yeah.
played in a lot of movies back in the 60s and the 70s. And, she sings. I didn't know she was a big singer. And I'm trying to think of the name of the movie. But all you have to do, guys, is put that movie on. God, I gotta get the name of it, Rob. I'm looking it up as we go right now. It's on my. Where's that sucker at?
And just sort of while you're looking for it, George Peppard was actually the chief of police in many of the Police Academy movies.
He was.
Yeah, yeah, he was like the chief of police and was kind of playing kind of a bumbling idiot. But back in the day, he was a real suave, debonair, leading man.
Really?
Yeah,
Are you ready for this?
yeah.
Moon River, Breakfast at Tiffany's. I'm trying.
I could hear, I could hear it going a little bit there.
I know. I'm trying to get the sound going on this thing. I'm not sure why it's not going. But Breakfast at Tiffany's with Audrey Hepburn. If you sit down and watch that movie with your wife, try to just even have something that she enjoys to munch on, whatever it is, whether it's food or some type of dessert, and hold her hand and watch that movie with her. It's a romantic movie for sure. But men just need to know that you can be a big, tough guy like us, Rob, and still be very romantic. And you have to make sure, though, that your entire thought process is about your wife, about your girlfriend. And if you do that and you stop thinking about what I like, well, I'd rather watch Sports Center. Well, okay, that's fine. But give up the Sports Center for a couple hours and focus on your significant other. And you watch a movie like that, and you're going to be making her happy. Now, maybe she likes to watch something else. Okay. A lot of women like to watch Hallmark movies. They're kind of, romantic, and you might think, okay, you got to be kidding me. But if that's what they like, that's what they like, you know. And if your wife wants to go out for a certain type of dinner, take her to that kind of dinner and just put up with it for that night, even though it's not your favorite food. It's not about
I'll tell
you.
you, bare minimum, buy flowers. I mean, you can't go wrong with a $20, $25 bouquet of flowers. I'll tell you, women love them. They're guys or whoever they your partner will love it.
I'm trying to get this playing. I don't know what's going on here with my
Dave's our technical director on the show, as you can tell. He knows how to do all this technology.
Yeah, it ain't me. I don't know. It's just not going tonight, but oh
Yeah,
well.
well. Well, like I said, a lot on the horizon. We got about 5 more minutes left in the show. A few more minutes. A lot on the horizon. What do you expect coming up with? We got the confirmation hearing still going on. RFK and Kash Patel. What do you think about Kash Patel?
I think that guy's a tough dude. I think he's smart as heck. And, here's the bottom line. Unbelievable on the set of Stand Tall when you spilled all your coffee all over the porch at the place you're staying at. My beautiful wife comes out
She loves
and
you. I knew it.
a new cup of coffee. So I'm sitting right here. Judy Brown, thank you very
Hi,
much.
Judy.
Hi, Rob.
I got a new cup of
Hello.
oh gosh, I'm freezing. Um, but I'm telling you what, the thing with him is we've got to know the truth. And I think I challenge all Americans. Let's just get to the truth, and then we can build back to what needs to happen. Rob, I want to take on a real controversial subject before we go. You ready? Are you buckled up?
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Yeah,
DEI. Now,
yeah.
not a fan of what it's been taken to, but food for thought for everybody. DEI, so diversity, equity, inclusion, right?
Inclusion. Mm-hmm.
In itself, of those words, they're not horrific words. They've been distorted for sure, and we've taken it to a point where we've tried to make them into something that certain people want. But the words themselves, diversity. We need to be diverse. We have a
Mm-hmm.
very diverse country. Equity is it, and when you look at the Webster's definition of equity, it doesn't have to be a bad word. And inclusion. I mean, when I coach, man, I'll tell you what. Even the most unathletic kid, the poorest kid, they're included in our team. I mean, so I've always practiced those elements. It's just that we have to get back to knowing what's healthy, for people. And then I think once we get to the bottom and we strip everything back to the studs, whether you're very liberal or very conservative, then we have to be able to say, okay, I'll sit down at the table with you, and what's it look like to rebuild this house? What are we going to do to rebuild this house where we pretty much need to be a place in this country where we end up getting to the point where we're more in that moderate stage. You and I've talked about this because not everybody's going to be a conservative and not everybody's going to be a liberal. Now we have an extreme part of the left, the AOCs of the world that have gone off the rails, and then we have people on the right that have gone too far on the right, and we've got to get back to that point where we can sit back. And I think a lot of America, it would be more in that moderate stage. I think my parents would have been there and things like that. So that's my
I,
my,
I read,
my
read a story the other day. The headline was basically that the DEI killed the Democratic Party.
Yes, I agree.
And the writer made some pretty interesting topics about just pushing this transgender agenda to people who are religious who will never accept it, who just it's in their DNA, they just don't believe in that, it's biblical to them. But to push that agenda and really tie your kite to that agenda was really maybe not a smart move. And even John Fetterman, who I'm not a big fan of John Fetterman, but he was even quoted as saying he doesn't know if the Democrats will ever get white men back.
Well, I think it's when you have to sit back and say, you got to be like me in order for you to be okay. That's not right. We have to let people be who they are. And one of the funnest things about people is just that. It's this thing we see in sports, Rob. You and I have that love of sports, and I saw a guy the other day. I make a comment about Babe Ruth, and there was a thing where they've gone back and recolorized a Babe Ruth practice episode where he's hitting balls and the pitches are coming in. It's BP. Well, this guy's saying, 60-mile-an-hour fastballs. He couldn't play today. There's 1,000 guys better than him. And I'm like, dude, it's batting practice. I mean, I've been part of 1,000 batting practices. It is what it is. You're throwing a pitch in there so the guy can hit it. And Babe Ruth's knocking these things all over the place. I've seen his bat at the Louisville Slugger Museum. This thing is like a log.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
thick,
a lot of these
yeah.
guys today couldn't even pick it up. But when you go back and you look at Warren, Bob Feller, how far can we go back to some of these guys that could flat out pitch, and they were throwing heat.
Bob Gibson.
I mean, oh yeah, they're throwing
My guy.
Nolan Ryan, but I mean Bob Feller, my dad's player back in the 30s, 40s. Central Page, when he was younger. I mean, these guys could throw, and they were throwing just as fast as these guys are today. And then Babe Ruth was, I think baseball's got an advantage over every other sport in the fact that you just change the bats around and a little bit of that kind of stuff. And I think all the numbers, even out pretty well. Pitching, now that we've really gotten into the specialized art of pitching. I do get that. And I know guys pitch longer into the game and stuff like that. But Babe Ruth could play. He could step up to the plate today, and with the right bat, he's hitting balls all over the place. But yeah.
Well, Dave, listen, we're right at about an hour. We like to keep our episodes, cut at an hour. So, real quick, talk us through what you got going this week. Where you're traveling? What you got? What's on the agenda for you this week?
Well, we've been teasing about changes coming up, and we're partnering up with a more of a national organization. We'll probably announce it by the end of the week. I asked for permission yesterday, and they are helping us expand our entire base and our reach, and rebuilding our websites and rebuilding everything we do from a technical side. Rob, you know it better than I do right now. You're part of that technical side, and I really appreciate you for that, dude. And a shout out to Rose too. You guys and Isaac are killing it on that side for us. So what we have now is somebody who really believes in us, and the message we want to bring out there for politics for sure, and education. But I'm really excited this week for me. I'll be doing a lot more of these live streams with people, and then once we do these live streams like this, Rob jumps in and he edits them and puts them together, and we want to try to probably glitz those up a little bit, and we'll have a lot of special guests on, and you're going to be surprised at some of the names we have come up. We'll have normal, people like us that are just normals, but we'll have some people that have some juice, and those are starting to come up now. That's going to be our big change. Rob, I think one of the things I never want to lose though is just this time you and I have together. It's special to me. We didn't get to do flapjacks and bacon this morning, so I deeply apologize. I know your feelings are hurt a little bit.
Well, then Lucy didn't even call or nothing. Lucy, our black lab, the producer, didn't even call or nothing.
She's a little ticked that she's not at the beach, honestly. Got to tell you.
I believe it. Yeah, she likes the beach. I'll tell you, nothing like bringing your dog, taking it off leash, and letting it run on the beach, man. There's nothing like.
Okay, shout out really quick. We're watching dogs last night from the windows of the 10th floor of the Inn at Spanish Head. And I'm telling anybody that's in Oregon, or anybody that's in the West Coast, anybody that's in the world, and a lot of people from all over the world do come to the Willamette Valley, which is only about 70 miles from the beach, right where we're sitting, because we're one of the wine capitals of the world now in the Willamette Valley of Newberg, Oregon, McMinnville, Oregon, Dayton, Yamhill, Amity, Sheridan. We're in the hub of some of the greatest winemaking going on anywhere. Napa Valley doesn't have anything, much on where we live, Rob, every day. But you can come down to the Inn at Spanish Head, go up 10 stories, and it's a motel that's right on the beach. I mean, you're looking right down your window, 10 stories down at the Oregon beach, and we're watching dogs run on the beach yesterday. Beautiful day out there, a little cold, but all these dogs are just, having a blast. I'm a big dog guy, that. Lucy, just when she gets a chance to come down here, it's just like Disneyland for a dog. So shout out to the Inn at Spanish Head. Pretty darn good food. Get whatever kind of beverage. Get a cup of coffee. Get a mixed drink. Get a beer. It's one of the great spots in Oregon Coast. Go mid afternoon, and you will have one of your best spots. But I'd say back to what we're going to be going through, Rob. We're excited because I think we're really going to start connecting back your way towards St. Louis, across the country, and we really want to bring that honest truth about what's going on. Rob, we've got a lot of stuff coming up on education that's got to happen. And I'm a public school employee for 20 years, school board, my kids, Judy, 34 years. So we're not abandoning public schools. We just want to see them get back to being refocused and get healthy again. In Oregon, it's rough right now. It's going to be some storms coming up in Oregon education for sure. And we don't want to sit back and just slam because there's so many good teachers out there. But there's some that aren't, and there's like the USA. There's some nefarious things going on behind the scenes with certain people that are hurting public education. And then there's big changes to homeschooling and private schools that are changing because of the public schools losing so many kids. And so we got all that coming. A lot of big political stuff coming. Donald Trump's keeping us on our edge of our seat. And Super Bowl, last thing tomorrow. What do you got?
Gotta go with the Chiefs. This might get posted after the Super Bowl, but I'm gonna go with the Chiefs because I'm from Missouri.
Yeah, I got Chiefs 24-23.
Yeah, you got the last minute field goals, what you were saying.
I think it's going to come down to Mahomes hits Kelsey. They're going to be at about the 48-yard line. They need Butker to get to about the 35 to hit a for sure kick. And it's going to be third and about 13. There's going to be a holding penalty. And it's going to look bad for the Chiefs. Everything's going, the Eagles have made a comeback. And Kelsey gets open on the right side over the middle. Mahomes is scrambling. He's getting hit. He finds him. Kelsey turns, spins, does that right move. Gets about 10 yards. Doesn't quite get the first down. Fourth down. It's going to be a 51-yard field goal. Butker's going to just put that thing right through the uprights, and Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
So you left out a couple details. What color shoes were they wearing? I'm just kidding, Dave.
Oh, man, no clue. But I'll tell you what. I'm
kidding.
I'm not a huge Eagles fan, but Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts are studs. And I like their coach a lot. So this is probably one of my more favorite Eagles teams I've ever seen, honestly. But I'll tell you, Saquon Barkley, that guy he's butter. He can play.
I got to tell you just a little side story as we go on. So when I was I wrote for the Stars and Stripes, and I worked on the sports desk, so I covered a lot of the sports. So one year they had what was called the Berlin Bowls, the first time they had American teams, NFL teams, come to Europe and play football in Berlin. And I saw the Rams play the Eagles. So I got to cover the game, I was covering it. So I met Randall Cunningham.
Oh, really?
Just one of the most awesome guys I'd ever met in my life. I just really thought he was just a great person, great guy. At that time, it was Marty Schottenheimer was coaching them, I believe, at the time. So interesting. Nick Lowry was the kicker back then. So yeah, Eagles, Chiefs in Berlin was an interesting sort of game, man.
I think it's gonna be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. We'll be back in time to sit down, and obviously the Super Bowl's the end. I've had more fun the last 3 years watching the NFL. I'm back. I'm back to like I was 30 years ago. I'm out on the NBA. I'm totally in on the NFL. I always like baseball. I'm a huge tennis guy, golf guy. I watched
I understand the Blazers have been on a bit of a tear lately, huh?
They're winning some games. I watched the whole Pebble Beach Pro-Am at Pebble Beach, and Rory McIlroy won that last week.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't feeling that hot, so I watched the entire tournament on TV, which, boy, I never thought I'd do that before.
Probably saw some nice shots, huh?
Oh, man. I mean, a lot of guys hit some great shots. Nick Lowry, the guy that they're walking up the 18th green at Pebble Beach. I've been there. Oh, really quick. Okay, we got one more story. So Judy and I go to Pebble Beach about 12 years ago. We go to Santa Cruz. There's a 17-mile loop around Pebble Beach. It's like this special drive, and it's gorgeous, right on the water. But we go to Pebble Beach. We're not members there. You have to be a member to go in the clubhouse. We like to go visit colleges all over the place. And so Judy and I may or may not have walked up to the guys that are wearing these crazy outfits that are the doormen for the Pebble Beach Country Club. Well, we've seen all the outside big bronze statues where they have all the winners, listed from way back. And so I walked up to one of these guys, handed him a $20 bill 12, 13 years ago. That'd be like a $40, $50 bill now, and said, "Hey, you make sure we have my same table on the patio in about an hour from now." And he goes, "Yes, sir." Doesn't ask me my name or anything. We go in, we go upstairs, we go into the Ben Hogan room, we go to the library, we see all these special things at Pebble Beach in the clubhouse. We really did this, and we're totally not supposed to be there. And so the FBI never came found us, so we're okay. So I finally told you, I said, I think it's time for us to jet. So we walked out on the patio, and you're looking at the 18th green at Pebble Beach, and the ocean's right behind it, and it is stunning. These guys just hit their shots. They're walking up to the 18th green. We've overextended our stay. So I said, "Come on, dude." So we walked right out there, walked right on the green. These guys are just walking off, shaking hands. We said, "Hey, we're watching you from the clubhouse. It's been a blast to see you guys play. Great round." They all shook our hands, just these guys, they're caddies. You have to have a caddy there at Pebble Beach.
Yeah.
And then we headed behind the service maintenance shack out there, got in our rental car, and off we went. So that's my Pebble Beach story for you.
I've been on Torrey Pines. Torrey Pines is a beautiful course.
There's a big tournament, I think, not this week, but next week. It's like the big time, whatever it is. It's at Torrey Pines. It's another big, huge PGA tournament. Yeah, coming up.
Yeah, that's another very much locked down course. You don't just walk on that course either.
I don't know how. When you're older, we've been to Vanderbilt, Baylor, University of North Carolina, Duke, University of Louisville, Weber State, where Damian Lillard played in Utah. We've been to UCLA, USC, Stanford, obviously Oregon State. We've been to University of Texas. We've been to Hampton College, Indiana Wesleyan College, Notre Dame. Judy and I go visit colleges, and we explore everywhere they'll let us go. And it's just one of our things we like to do. And the most beautiful campus by far as upkeep and classy, Notre Dame. I'd say probably my favorite university to go to and just see, and the best experiences we've had would be, I'd have to go Stanford.
My wife has said that too. My wife said it's first class over there.
Stanford's pretty cool, and we've had great experiences there. Another story for another day, but Rob, appreciate you stand tall. I think we're, like I said, I think by Friday we'll announce who's behind us and what we're doing, and I think what they're going to do to push us out there, so we can get this message out there. And education, politics, Jesus, sports, and people. That's our game, and being honest and truthful with our listeners is our goal.
Yep, exactly. Well, Dave, you have a good week. Hope you get rid of the congestion a little bit.
It's about 80% going. So I appreciate that, and thanks to everybody supporting us. Please go to Spotify, Apple CarPlay, and all that, and give us a shout out. And your written articles will be coming to our website soon. So everybody out there,
got a couple in the hopper right now. That a couple things on leadership that you wrote that people will be able to download on the website. So we're excited about that. You'll start seeing a lot more articles, from Dave, with some of my input, a lot of Dave's input. So I'll be doing some articles as well. So again, all coming up right around the bend.
Rob, appreciate you. Stand tall. Peace out.